Hey everyone, today we are doing our build log for the Vega Frontier Edition hybrid mod. Disclaimer, I'm not sure this is gonna work, so we're gonna try. There may not be a results edition of this video. It might just be build log and then abject failure, so we'll find out. This is the Vega Frontier Edition card. We already have a teardown. If you're curious, you can see that on the channel. We'll put a card in the video so that you can find that, or the review is also online. So the challenge here is going to be figuring out how we get a liquid cooler mounted to these odd mounting hole positions. So they are 64 millimeters apart, whereas something like the RX series cards were closer to 53, 54, 53.5, something like that. And the NVIDIA cards don't fit either. So this is a new unique hole spacing, which means that we're gonna have to have a new unique method to get a CLC on there. Before getting to this content, this is brought to you by EVGA and their hybrid mod for the GTX 10 series cards. We were going to try and use one, but it is made for GTX 10 series cards. If you have a 1080 Ti, 1080, 1070, or other card like that, you can find a link in the description below for the hybrid mods. It's an easy mod to do and improves thermals significantly. All right, so speaking of that, this is what I wanted to use originally because we've used it for basically all of these mods since the beginning of time, except for the RX 480 hybrid mod. That a lot of people seem to have forgotten we did because it was the most, I don't know, it was really the least organized of all of them in terms of the final product because we had to get a bunch of parts from a bunch of different things. So the reason this won't work, and any of the other Asetek coolers made for a GPU or a CPU even, is because the hole spacing doesn't line up. So as you can see, we can line up one of them and that's it. The hole spacing here is these versus these, quite a bit wider. So we can't use this kit, and we also can't use the Asetek CPU coolers because if we look at, where's my bracket? If we look at this is for an Intel CPU, the holes just don't match. I mean, you can't even see any of them. So we've got one here, one here, one here, one here. So that doesn't line up. Intel is 80 by 80 apart on the LGA 115X CPUs, I believe. So that's no good. We also have to worry about component clearance for things like the chokes. So that's going to be a concern. And then the next thing is, do we want to try and keep this base plate? Which the answer is yes, I would like to try to keep it, but we've got a couple kits here. So I pulled out every kit that I have for hybrid modding. We're going to go through all of them, see if any of them have a bracket that is adjustable. If one has a bracket that's adjustable, then great, we'll use it. If not, then I have an idea for a mod that we can do that will involve a drill. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But we're going to start with the G12, which I just have on top here and is the newest. I've only used this once. I used it for the MSI 1080 Ti Armor video, and I am pretty sure right now that this isn't going to work, but we're going to check. That's not going to work. There's just not enough. So that rules out the G12. That was easy. Check the next one. Arctic Accelero 120. I've used this kit before. I used this kit on the RX 480. Are these the heat sinks? Yes. The bag of heat sinks I'm not going to open because there they are. These are VRM component heat sinks. Last time it took something like 30 or 40 minutes to get them all applied and repacked is a nightmare. So we're not going to open that. It's just heat sinks. It might come in handy, but not what we need right now. What we need right now is an adjustable mounting plate that just uses a slide rail. Okay, no good. Next one, G10. Nope. Okay, so we have ruled out the G10, the G12, the Arctic whatever it was. Probably this Arctic one won't work either. Probably maybe that one, but I have the most faith in this one. Maybe not. It's looking more and more like we are going to probably resort to a DIY approach. Where's the manual? Oh, there's our spacing right there. 58.4 millimeters is the biggest one. No good. So we are left with the drill route. And here is what I've been thinking of. So this is an Intel mounting plate for an Asetek cooler. The way it works is you take something like this cooler, which has short tubes, but whatever, and you mount them like that to the cooler. So it just sockets on there. And we have clearance on the edges, as you can see, where that metal isn't being used for anything, and we might be able to get away with cutting through it. So I'm thinking that we take one of these and measure a couple times and probably basically end up cutting holes or drilling holes right at the end of the second one already. So that's probably what we're looking at for this mod. So what I need to do is what? All right. Okay, next step is figuring out where the new ones go. We want as little overhang as possible where there are a lot of MOSFETs or where the bottom of the card is. That looks pretty good. What do you think? So that's good. That looks promising. Now we could use zip ties to secure the cooler to the GPU, and it would probably work. Here's the concern. We have a GPU and we have HBM. And the chances of potentially having uneven weighting or positioning on either of those are high enough that it's a little bit scary to do that, because we don't have temperature sensors for HBM. We're not going to have a good idea if those are being cooled, and sticking a thermocouple in there isn't going to be the best approach either. So I would really like to avoid anything where we're going to potentially have uneven mounting, and that is probably going to be best avoided by mounting a proper retention kit to it, so that we can carefully screw in with a nut and a screw on either side the same amount of threads and distribute the weight evenly. Now the next question is, are we going to have to use a shim? I think the answer to that is we'll figure it out when we get there, but probably, because these are flat plates and the inductors are, well, yeah, definitely. The inductors are taller than the GPU. So we're gonna have to use a shim. We did that with our 1060 mod. Actually, you know what? This is making contact. We'll see. We did that with our 1060 mod, and it worked out fine. It was still one of the coolest things we ever tested. So even if we have to use a shim, we're gonna be better off than the vapor chamber. That's pretty good. Okay, so now we need to drill this. I'm thinking I gotta figure out, do we wanna take this outside to not get metal shavings everywhere? There we go. There's some metal shavings. Okay, progress. Dent. It's been dented inward. I might have to go to a larger bit just because there's going to be some inaccuracy here. God, what's it even doing? There's one. There's is that Rob over there? Let me ask him a question. So we're trying to modify something for a video we're shooting. And I need to basically add in some holes right here on this bracket. It doesn't need to be pretty, but so I got one with a drill. Right. But the other ones I started on is just like barely making a dent, because I guess it's maybe stainless steel or aluminum or something. Okay. Any ideas what would be best to cut through that?
Well, what you need to do first is to give it a little, on the side that you're going to drill on, give it a little punch.
Okay.
With a little punch so that you get a little dent in there. And then you could take some thin oil.
Oh, you have a press?
I have a press that I can
Okay. Do you mind if we record the part drilling through it?
Oh.
Wait, let me get Andrew. That does look like it'll make it way easier. Thanks for the help.
No problem. This part up without destroying the.
Oh yeah, cool.
That's probably way too much. A little oil.
So you're just gonna clamp it down?
I gotta kind of clamp it, but I don't know if I got something that's.
Whoa. Whoa.
Then you'll probably want to take a file on this side and take off the. All right, guys. Now.
Okay, so thanks to Rob next door, we got this sorted out and used a drill press combo to get through it. So pretty cool utility. It's got 5 different functions. It's from the 60s, he says. We were able to get through the mounting bracket after a whole lot of effort. And now we're just going to mount it onto the pump block. And all we need for this is the plate and then this little piece here from Asetek, which just snaps in. So that's our retention. Okay, so that's retained. And now the next step is this has to mount here on top of the silicon. I might be able to keep the base plate. That would be cool. Literally. I think it'll work. Is there any downside to this? Oh, I guess, is there clearance? That's the only question that's left. So our clearance now might be different than our clearance before. $50. Oh, no. There's your problem. This is bigger. So instead, we'll get rid of the base plate and we'll cool the VRM components with a lot of air, just fans. I need to do this exercise one more time to see if we're definitely for sure making contact everywhere. Okay, we are clear. I can see through the other side. That's unfortunate. I can see through to that side too. Damn. So what's stopping us? I think I can maybe see through that side. I don't know what we're hitting. A little bit of flex on the PCB. Oh, maybe. This is actually looking okay now. So it just takes extra mounting force. HBM's not making contact though. The left HBM module is not making contact. So did we just put a shim on? No, that doesn't make sense. Getting to the point where I'm getting nervous about tightening this further. I think that's it. I think we are making contact. Maybe not on the far left. It's going to be really hard to gauge with thermal paste on there. Can you see it shining through a little? So they're selling theirs for $600 because of this, because it's not a standard mounting hole spacing, and there are no brackets on the market. But the minute someone like EK makes one, there's no way the $600 is worth it. Unless there's something else special about the card that we don't know yet. This side is good, so that's okay. What about this one? Ooh, that's also good. So that one lines up with the silicon, so we're good there. That means that the part I'm seeing the light shine through is actually the substrate. And then this one is right here, which lines up with the silicon for the HBM. So we're good there. The part I'm concerned about, maybe, although I may have, actually, this might be more okay than I thought it was. So this small mark lines up with the edge of the silicon. We're good there. This one, I wasn't sure about. I was a little sloppy with this one because I was having so much trouble getting it to mark. It is more inward or inland or whatever. But where's the end of it? The end's right there. And this HBM stack is inset that way by about the same amount. So it's close. It's close enough to try it. I think we're going to be good because any light bleeding out over there is probably just cutting through that corner that's not covered. So let's give it a shot. Let's see how this does. We'll cool the VRMs with a lot of air and maybe some stick-on heat sinks that we opened from that Arctic kit earlier. And for good measure, we'll use extra thermal paste. Okay, cool. That one's good. All right, so they all need to be same amount screwed in. Fuck, tubes are on the bottom. Can I get away with that? Oh, this clear video card slot. $7.21. 7.21. Not quite. Sweet. So it's the same height for all of them. They're all the same height. And it will fit in a video card slot, even though I put the tubes at an angle I didn't want to put them at, but it's also irrelevant. Put a fan above it for the VRM. Do I want VRM heat sinks? We really don't need them if you just blast a fan at it. These are exposed copper anyway. Okay, thermal adhesive, not thermal paste. Thermal adhesive. Do not mix them up. Are these even the same height? That's the real question. Looks like it. There we go, 0.59. That sounds more accurate. 0.6. Okay, they're all the same height. That's cool. I already know the hot spots because we measured them earlier for the review, so that's convenient. HBM one's at the bottom. Just ignore that one for now. Okay, that gets left alone. Okay, the last two sets will be cooled with air. A lot of it. I'm going to put a maglev fan over this thing, and you wouldn't even really need these technically, so whatever. So that is the longest build-up we've ever done. I mean, even the part 1 and part 2 of the first teardown and hybrid mod we did was shorter than this building part. The teardown was trivial. So we've got it. We've got the coolers mounted. It's making contact everywhere now. I've checked it multiple times. I was basically shining a UV light through there and then marking with a pencil when I saw it bleed through. And when I checked where it marked, it's bleeding through in places where there is not a dye. So it's good. So that's making contact. First thing I'll do is check GPU temps anyway. The VRMs should be fine. There are 2 pairs of MOSFETs that are not covered by one of these small aluminum heat sinks. Didn't even need to put those on there technically anyway, but the 2 that aren't covered are going to be just fine. They'll be happy because I'm going to put a maglev fan over them, blast it at 100%, and it'll all be good. Airflow is better than heat sinking anyway, at least heat sinking without airflow. So I think we're ready to test it. I can't move the card because everything's dry, but we'll have B-roll shots of it and then check back for the results where we'll have the temperature and thermal difference. We'll have the clock stability difference if there is any. At that point, the only limitation that's left will be the power limit. And we have plans to try and deal with that too. So check back for all that. As always, you can subscribe for more, especially the results and the follow-ups with potentially power limit bypass attempts, and store.gamersnexus.net to grab a shirt, or you can just go to the website gamersnexus.net, patreon.com/gamersnexus to help us out directly. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time.